So I had long COVID from October 2022 to October of 2023, and my two main symptoms were brain fog. I couldn't focus. My head felt like mush. I couldn't lock in on anything. My short-term memory was really messed up. I mean, I would lose my phone like 10 times a day. It was just I couldn't remember what I had to do in a day. It was just I felt it felt like it sounds foggy. Um, and my second was fatigue. No matter how much I would sleep, I would always feel exhausted. I felt like something was weighing me down, and those were my two main symptoms. And it started on October 24th. I was out with my friends. It was a Saturday night, a week before Halloween, and I came home with a cold, very standard, stuffy nose, cough, and this continued on Sunday, and then Monday my stuffy nose and cough got a little better, but I started developing this weird headache. I mean, I was like dizzy. I felt like a little lightheaded. Um, it was really strange, but by Tuesday my stuffy nose and cough were totally gone. So I went to school, and that day I was scheduled to sit on a panel for incoming freshmen to answer questions. And I was sitting on that panel and I was answering questions, and it just felt like it went from one ear out the other. Um, I couldn't really understand, I couldn't put my words together. I couldn't process things. Words wouldn't come out how I wanted it to. I didn't feel sharp. And I went home that day. I said, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I can't be there. And without me knowing, that would be the last day that I would be at school as a real student. I went home and we kept trying to figure out, from that point on, we were trying to figure out what was wrong. I mean, we went to so many different doctors. First, we went to an ENT doctor, see if I had a sinus infection, which I did. So we thought, oh, that could be the problem, my brain fog. So I went on antibiotics, went through that process, didn't help. We went from to this doctor. Like many people with long COVID, it was really hard to get diagnosed. I mean, we got brain scans, every test you can do, every blood test you can do, and until around Christmas, New Year's, we went to a functional doctor that my dad's friend had referred us to, Dr. Paris Patel. And after looking at everything, he finally said, "You have long COVID." I said, "Wow." Well, first of all, what is long COVID? What does that mean? How long am I going to be out for? How long am I going to feel like this? What can I do to help it? And there weren't many answers. I mean, you couldn't tell me how long I was going to have these symptoms for. There was no way to tell. It could have been 2 months. It could have been 2 years. And there wasn't a cure either, which isn't what I wanted to hear. It felt good to at least be diagnosed with something, to someone say, okay, this is what's wrong with you, this is why you're feeling like this, instead of saying it could be anything. But it was scary. It was scary to hear how, I don't know how long it's going to go on for. It was, I was scared. I wanted to get back in school. I'd been out of school for 2 months at that point, and I didn't know what to do. So he did say there was some things you could do, try working out, try doing everything you can that you would do when you were normal. So I did that. I mean, I tried to do everything I could, but we kept trying to go to different doctors to find things that would help me, to hopefully maybe find a cure or something that would just get me better, which I found out later was just not attainable. And then we went to Dr. James Lavelle, who I'm still with today. He was a functional doctor who put me on a supplement plan and a diet, which, the diet was horrible. I hated it. It was no dairy, no gluten, and no sugar. And it was about that for 3 to 4 months, and I love food, so that was horrible. But at least I felt like I had some agency over my recovery for the first time, which was something that I liked. I liked being in control. I liked having some control over my life. And for the first time, for about 3, 4 months, I did. So even though it sucked not being able to have a burger, I mean, at least I felt like I could do something about it. So this continued. I mean, my routine was all. I didn't have a routine. I would sleep late. I would wake up late. I was always tired. I would sometimes go to school just to sit in on classes, but I was out of school. I mean, it was already determined I was going to redo my junior year. Hope if I was back by when I would be back for. And this continued from about January until summer. I was kind of just moving. I was just going through the motions. I mean, my life was basically on pause. I would try to work out, but it was exhausting. I couldn't do much. Even going on walks was like wiping me out. I kept with my supplement plan. I kept with my diet. I was very strict with that because I mean that was the one thing that I could do to help me. So, and yeah, it was. I mean, I could hang out with my friends, but I couldn't really past 11 p.m. I would have to be in bed. To stay past 11 p.m., I would have to drown myself in caffeine practically and have two of the strongest coffees I've ever had. And I didn't really feel any improvement whatsoever. My brain fog and fatigue were still there until about middle of summer. Summer, I started an internship at Aaron Kerman Group, a brokerage that I interned at the summer before, which I loved the summer before. I mean, I loved being in that environment. Everything about it was great, but this summer was different. I mean, I would sit in that chair. I would get there at 9:30. I would sit in that chair, and all I could do was just hope. I would just count down the seconds until I could go home. Um, and that just wasn't like me. I mean, whatever I was doing, I enjoyed it, but I still didn't feel like myself. But I promised myself that I would stay because I was hoping that getting into some routine, um, being in that environment would hopefully bring me back to speed, which it might have. I mean, after a month, middle of June, I finally started to feel some improvement. I was able to work out. I was working out almost every day, and my brain fog was still there. I still couldn't do math. I mean, things that would take me probably a minute, but math problem that would take me a minute before would take me now in 30 minutes. So my brain fog was still there, but at least I was sensing some improvement, and this continued throughout summer. Honestly, the sun, things as crazy as hot weather and the sun being on me would help me. I think that might have been a reason why, but this continued. I stayed on my diet, and yeah, I kept improving. I kept improving, but I still wasn't back to 100%, and the fear was still there. I mean, I still felt alone. Nobody really knew what I was feeling like. I mean, I didn't know. I didn't know if I'd be able to finish high school. I can't really redo 2 years of high school. Um, or at least that wasn't my plan. So I continued. I just kept going day by day, trying to do everything I could. And then school came around, and it was about 2 or 3 weeks until school started, and we were looking for answers. Um, my uh, dad had found this doctor who recommended that I go on a stimulant like ADHD meds, which I did, and but I started that about a week before school, and it took a couple weeks to kick in. So I was still, and we didn't even know if that would help me. So I was still not myself, and school was approaching, and I mean, I didn't know what to do. I was scared, um, and it was really, I mean, without my family, it was really, I don't know how I would have made it through. But my uncle gave me some really good advice. He said, just get in there. I mean, first day of school, I was like, I was convinced I'm going to be done. I mean, there's no way I can do anything. My uncle just said, get in there. Just try to figure it out. Okay, you have these problems, but just look at it as your friend. Look at it as something you're going to have to deal with. So, I mean, it was already a hard journey through. I thought I can do it. I mean, hopefully it's the final stages. I can get through it, and um, I started school, And just week by week, day by day, month by month, it got easier. Um, until about New Year's, I was probably at full strength. New Year's of 2024. So, I mean, it was a really hard journey. The 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 hardest part that probably goes unnoticed. I mean, obviously the symptoms sound awful, but it's just the loneliness you feel. Not because no one. I mean, you say brain fog. What is that? Like, what is that? What does that mean? No one can really understand. You have a headache. Like, no one can really understand. You say fatigue. It's like, okay, just take a nap and have a coffee. Like, no one can really understand kind of what that means. I mean, I think people thought I was just on vacation for the first month or two I was out of school. So my goal now that I'm better, is to help those that were once in my position. I mean, there isn't enough of a spotlight on long COVID, and my goal is to put that spotlight to help those that may not have a voice, to help those who, like I did, feel alone. And I hope you can join me on my journey.